Hi, my name is Martin Smith, and I'm here to make an argument that rocks are not real. That would be these things. And me and you and everything else. And this is just an argument to think about. And it's one that you should think about when it refers to physics. So I was at the ocean and I was looking at the waves. And the question comes up, what are waves? And they're not water, they're not air, they're the energy being transferred through the water and through the air. And that's pretty much what waves are. And when we go into physics, then we're saying, a lot of people are using wave mathematics. So in physics, the mathematicians have come up with ways to chart waves, and it's easy to just consider everything to be a wave. And well, if you consider ether as a solid object, then we don't really have that, because waves have to travel through something, and it is a requirement. So at what point are rocks not real? The things that make up rocks, electrons, protons, neutrons, those things are all made up of waves, and those waves are created through something in space. You can't, like I say, you can't have waves without something there. I'm going to call it ether, just as a marker of what's there and what's not there. And within this marker of ether, there's energy transferring through this ether. So the energy is transferring through, it's creating waves. The waves are creating electrons, protons, and neutrons. This is how E equals mc squared. E equals energy, and energy creates mass, as in energy in an air localized, trapped in one small area, creates mass. And this mass within itself doesn't exist. So rather than say that we don't exist, as a lot of small children would say, what do you mean? I don't rule here, you don't rule here. It's a reverse denial, more or less, as in, therefore, ether does not exist. The fact of the matter is, when you trace things back, and when you look at wave theory, when you look at string theory, we're all dealing, or the compression wave, or compression theory, which I'm looking at more into with my videos. We're all looking at waves. We're all looking at the waves propagating through something. A lot of mathematicians are in denial of that, and they're saying, well, the numbers exist and that's all that matters. So it's an interesting thought that we are a product of something that is real, as in we are an imaginary product of something that is real. This also gets into religion of what is God, what is the life force that is around us, what is right and wrong, good and evil. That is a product of us. In a lot of ways, it's our actions and what we do, and it comes down to what's important in life. And you can be a pessimist about it and say, well, the universe is expanded, it created an inversion within the ether, and as that ether expanded, all of a sudden the energy involved allowed photons to be created, and from the photons, the higher energy photons split into electrons and electrons and positrons. The higher energy than that split up into protons and antimatter, or what we refer to as antimatter, just as positrons are considered to be antimatter also. So from there, I look at it, we aren't, this isn't conventional physics. My view of it is that you have a resonant frequency of any stationary object, and it creates vibrational frequencies, and you put a whole bunch of them together, and they will actually force an electron, the frequency, to go down to its least power energy state, to its lowest energy state, and that's its own energy state plus the energy of motion. and that this pushes the protons up a level. So in order to have 2 parts to a proton, it forces it into being 3 or more parts to it. I believe it's 3, but that's only because this is what particle physicists say, and they say that it's 3, and they're calling them 3 quarks. So going back to the argument that rocks don't exist, if ether is the true existence, and we, rocks, people, are products of that existence, products of energy, then my argument is that ether is the true existence, and we are products of that existence, just as good, bad, good and evil is a product of our existence. So it's something to think about when you get pessimistic about it and say, well, the universe is, since it expanded out like it did, it's also, we can come to the conclusion that it's also going to collapse, and that everything we do, everything we've ever done, even our own memories of, there will be no memory of us once this collapses again, and what's the point? Well, then from there we can go back to good and evil and say, well, what we are, there's a product to that also. And if you're very religious, then the product of us is more important than we are, just as I would consider the product of ether is more important than ether. And it's delusions of my own grandeur. But that is my argument, and provided I haven't ticked you off about my religious views, I'll see you in another video.